Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Wild Woman Podcast. Today, I have Jill Skehan with me. She's from Dublin, but has her practice in Wicklow, which is in the east coast of Ireland. And I'll start. There are so many things that she does that I don't think I can list them all out. But let's just say I would say, rather than a complementary health practitioner, I would say a health practitioner, because I hope that's where we are right now. But she has many strings to her bow. She's been an emotioncode and bodycode practitioner, and she's 20 years of experience in the field of, let's say, health therapies, kinesiology, Reiki, inner imaging, pendulum healing, and we will talk about all of that and the journey that has led Jill to the work that she now does. So welcome, Jill. Delighted to have you here on the podcast.
Thanks so much for having me. It's been great to be here.
I'm just always so delighted to meet women and men who are really, you know, helping us all to realize our full potential. I think that's why we're here, and to understand maybe what's preventing us from doing that. And even talking about human potential, I suppose that's even another area as well. What exactly does that look like? But maybe can we start by just talking a little bit about, you said that your journey began with Reiki, which I think it has for many people in no matter what they do in their life. I've been there as well. So can you just maybe talk a little bit about what led you to even going on a journey with Reiki, firstly?
Yeah, well, I think I've always been interested in everything, alternative or complementary. Even as a teenager, I was, wanting to find out about, crystals and different things. And, some of my friends were collecting, magazines where, it was about the latest number one song or the latest artist or whatever. I was collecting, I don't know if you remember them back in the day, you might be too younger than me, but
No, I don't know. I doubt it.
there was a magazine that you had to collect every week or every 2 weeks, that you put it all together, and it came up in this huge big folders of all interest and stuff about anything from crystals to horoscopes.
Okay.
Just, it was one of my favorite things to do. Yeah, so that's kind of, so I always was kind of open to that kind of stuff. And then I think it was just before I had my children. So I was probably, I was only about maybe 23, 22, 23. My sister had, my older sister, she had done Reiki, and I just found it fascinating. So that's why I said, oh, I definitely want to do that. So did a course in Reiki, and then joined a group. I know back at that time, angels was a big thing. So I joined, a weekly group where you'd meet.
Oh, angels were a big thing. I know it sounds so funny. We've gone past those now. I know. We go through cycles, don't we? Of
Yeah,
stages. Yeah.
suddenly everyone was talking about angels, where there hadn't been before. Well, to my
Mm.
not in the way that you could connect with them.
Yeah. And was your family open to all of that? Because I think that's often what happens to many of us. As a child, we're very in tune, and then just through the circumstances that we chose, I believe, that can be sort of pushed to the side. So was that always part
Yeah,
of the world? You
quite open to different things and alternative things. And it's funny because, she'd have little, remedies where she'd talk about, if she had blocked sinuses, she's like, oh, somebody's getting up my nose, just little things like that.
Mm.
Out because sinus issues, because I'm allergic to something. It was, what's the other meaning to it? So that was, it was good growing up with that. And
Yeah.
back through my mother's line, I think there was a real opening to my grandmother would have talked about seeing spirits and different things like that. So yeah, it was.
Wow. Okay. Wow. And that feels like it's coming really alive again. I don't know. Maybe depending on the person, if that's part of your path. I feel that now. It's like there's something very much in the ancestors that is waking up in a lot of people, or that memory. Do you notice that in your work or just in your own life?
Yeah, because during my sessions as well, we inherit the energies from our ancestors as well, and some of them are, trauma and different things comes down through the line as well. So it's, there is a connection there. And
Mm.
I'm not a medium myself, but I know from being in that circle where some emotion code practitioners might be mediums as well. They have said that they can see the ancestors actually come back into the room when we're clearing the inherited energies. They thank the person and then they leave again.
I don't know, I'm getting chills as you say that because I feel that more and more all the time now. And can you talk then a little bit about the journey that you've been on? Because you've trained in so many, however you want to describe it, because I won't do a good job at it, like that the process that you've been through that's brought you now, it's primarily the emotion code and the body code, isn't it? And you also do quantum healing, which I've had some little bit of let's say exposure to, not personally, but talking to people. So how has that evolved for you? Because obviously it's changed you a lot from when you started too.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. So as I said, I started my first introduction was kind of Reiki, and then I moved on to integrated energy therapy, where it was, a different type of energy therapy. But all that this time, I had two small children as well, so my focus was there, and I was working a full-time job in administration as well. So this was kind of like took a very back seat at that time. So just when my kids got a little bit older, they were in school and stuff, and then I was made redundant from the job that I was in 2010, which was the best thing that ever happened to me. It gave me the opportunity because I was so interested in all these alternatives. And even when my daughter was born, was kind of my first exposure to kinesiology, because she had digestive issues. So, well, myself as well, she had digestive issues when she was born first. And I had a skin issue after I gave birth to her. So we both went to a kinesiologist who sorted us, pretty easy. And that just blew my mind as well.
And just to explain for anyone who may not be familiar with it, what exactly happened there, because somebody might be listening and say, I don't really know what kinesiology is.
Yeah, so kinesiology is just basically connecting in with the body. Because it goes on the premise that, our body has all the answers. Our body knows what's wrong, it knows why it's wrong, and it knows how to heal itself. So it's just about connecting in, using muscle testing to connect in with the body and ask the questions of what's going on.
So are you saying you got to the root cause of like what was causing, I mean, I don't want to ask you anything too personal, but was there something particularly that showed up that you could then remedy, if you know what I mean, rather than take something to just get rid of the symptom?
Exactly. And, my first introduction to kinesiologists was more, and a lot of kinesiologists would focus kind of on the nutrition and supplements part of things, and maybe as a remedy. And that was my experience with myself and my daughter. So she found out maybe what caused it. Well, for me, what caused it was actually the birth process in itself was what caused my skin issue. So it was just then some homeopathy to remedy that. And the same for my daughter. There were certain things that she couldn't have in her, more so actually things she needed in her diet, and a homeopathy remedy as well. And she was sorted within 6 weeks. It was absolutely amazing.
It's incredible. When you say the body knows, to me, isn't it? It's the body has, it's the intelligence. It's the intelligence that runs. I sometimes find it even hard to put words on it myself, but I can feel it. It's the intelligence that's in everything. Everything is sort of a conscious, even if that sounds crazy sometimes to people, but everything is, isn't it? You see this in your work. I mean, I think this is where we see the evidence of it when you see the results.
Yeah, absolutely. And our bodies, I just think the body is just the most amazing thing ever. There's so much to it, and I'm surprised every day some of the things that come up, which is great to still feel that.
Yeah, 20 years doing this.
Yeah, my God, this is amazing. But it wasn't until, I suppose, when I got that redundancy in 2010 that gave me the opportunity, because I was like, oh gosh, now I can really focus on what I want to do. Because there's a big thing leaving a full-time position with the salary and everything else. So this gave me the little opportunity to do that and to do the training.
Yeah. Well, so that sort of started you into that. So that's isn't it amazing how, and I would say for me, many instances in my life that at the time maybe felt like a major jolt ended up being the best thing. And I can remember hearing Wayne Dyer talk. I loved Wayne Dyer. I found him when I had cancer in 2016. I think he had just passed away. And he talked about losing a job, just like what you're saying. And someone being very upset and going, that wasn't, when something like that happens, that is the you being guided in a different direction. As hard as it is sometimes to accept it in the moment, you can look back usually, can't you? Did you feel that at the time, or you probably was fairly stressful too, I imagine?
It wasn't because I was 10 years in the company. I was getting a little redundancy package, which
Okay.
the initial, obviously the blow first is like, oh my God,
Mm.
softened the blow. And then it was very quick turnaround where I was like, oh my God, this is great. So, because then
Mm.
the redundancy as well, I could, make sure the mortgage was paid for a while. And also I had the money to go and do the training. And because to do the kinesiology training,
Yeah.
it's quite an investment. So
Yeah.
that opportunity. So
Yeah. So it just shows, doesn't it, as well? I don't know why, I just feel it very, I don't know, it's maybe important to say that now because I think many people are being a little bit rattled and shaken up in their world. I think we all are right now, even looking out at the world in our own worlds. And just what I feel is very important to share is that all of this is happening to bring us to, let's say, another version of us, a greater version of us, more of our potential, more of what we're here to share, more of our gifts. Is that what your experience, it sounds like that sort of propelled you in a completely new direction or gave you the freedom to do that?
oh, absolutely, yeah. And then there was a lot to kinesiology training. So when I did it,
Mm.
um, it's a lot of information, and it can be a little hard going sometimes to kind of
Okay.
take in all the information. But during that time as well, my son was he was 7 at the time. He was diagnosed with type 1 diabetes. So that was a huge shock.
Mm.
But it nearly propelled me in a way. It was like, oh, I really need to stick with this kinesiology now because I need to be able to support him and help him through this. So that was nearly like another.
And that's so interesting. And not, yeah, I've heard that often with people, particularly when they've children. I don't have children, but something will come into your life that almost gives you that impetus. Like for you, I have to be able to support him. And did kinesiology really help that? I presume it did. Like, was it in terms of food and or how did it support him?
Well, it did because it looked at kind of all the emotional elements of it too. And I went to a really good practitioner because I was, as I said, studying at the time. So I brought him to the girl that was my trainer at the time. I brought her to her, and she really, really helped with some flower remedies and different things. Not so much diet as such for him, but it was more kind of the emotional side.
Yeah. Can you just mention even there, because that might sound strange again to some people listening and maybe not to others, when you say the emotional aspect to that, how would you describe that?
Yeah, so it's just he had just lost his it would have been his great grandfather actually the month before that. Um, that really he kind of internalized everything, so he doesn't wouldn't you wouldn't see it on the outside, but he internalized all that, and he would have been very close to his great grandfather. Um,
It's lovely. You don't hear that very often. His great
no,
grandfather.
it's
Wow.
amazing, yeah, because his grandmother minded my two children while I worked, which is super to have as well. You don't that too often too. But yeah, because she was a young grandmother as well, her parents,
Mm.
so and they were both there. Uh,
Wow, that's amazing.
yeah, yeah. But he
The
was
fact that he,
quite close because he would have seen him most days as well. So
yeah. Why would you think that sort of manifest, or do you know why that would might have manifested as diabetes, if or contributed, let's say, or whatever way you
yeah,
look at it?
not just one involved. There's quite a lot of layers to that. Um,
Mm.
Shock is one of the major things that trigger type 1 diabetes.
Okay.
Shock to the pancreas can actually bring on type 1 diabetes, can trigger it. Now, some people say, you have to be predisposed for that to happen. So it's already there, just waiting to be triggered. But I think, it's part of his journey, and that's hard. That was very hard for me to accept because it's like, I'm going to heal this. It's not for me to heal. It's for him.
Mm.
That's his journey.
And how is he now?
Oh, he's great. He's great, and he manages it quite well. Might be not. I had to take, he's 22 now, so I had to take a big step back, which was really difficult for me to do as well. But he's doing really well.
Wow, that's incredible. And would he look at it in the same way as you might have at the time?
Most likely not, no.
No. And that's fine too. Yeah, I know. I said that would be that would be quite an open, yeah, perspective. But so yeah, so from there, so you maybe just so you went on from kinesiology. What drew you then to the emotion code and the body code? And we'll talk a little bit about that because that could be quite new. I came across it about a year or two ago, but I know I don't know that there are many practitioners in Ireland, are there?
There are quite a
Or no?
few. How many are actually practicing? But there are quite a few. I'd love there to be more. And I think I'd love to be able to even assist in having more emotion code practitioners. Um, if I could teach it, it would be brilliant. But at the moment, Dr. Bradley Nelson is the owner of the Emotion Code, and at the moment, to do the course, you have to do it online, and he keeps it all in house that way, which is, obviously, his way of doing it, and it probably works quite well. But I think a lot of people I've spoken to was like, I want that one-on-one.
Mm,
Somebody to be able to tell me how to do it, because it was easy. It was relatively easy for me to switch. Like it is a form of kinesiology in a way. It is, muscle testing is the basis of it, but I already had that. Sorry.
okay. Yeah. Yeah. So it's a bit okay. Yeah, maybe easier for someone if you've already, yeah, been through other alternative or other healing modalities. And can you just describe, because I think again, just when I was asking you there, I've great sun coming in this time of year. Sorry, I'm just looking out for anyone who might be listening and not watching. I've the sun just beaming in, which is beautiful. I shouldn't complain, but it's actually just for I'm looking at the camera. Um, but yeah, I think in terms of just getting into and talking about the emotion code and body code as well, what's interesting to explore, because I noticed even on your website and you talked about, emotions being the language of the body and releasing trapped emotions and how that can free us to live the life we deserve, and how energy, and I feel that more and more and more, where I might not have trusted the energy or the instinctive feeling I was getting in my body about anything. Now I do, because it serves me well and it hasn't served me well when I haven't. And I trust that, even though the world around us can still be telling us, no, don't trust that, trust here. And, I'll say certain words to you and, you take them on face value. But what I think this is showing is this is a whole different way of connecting with life and with ourselves at a much deeper level, really, isn't it? Like it entails someone being willing to go a bit deeper into, what appears on the surface.
Yeah, exactly. And it's, some people just have no idea of that. And a lot of people, it's funny because a lot of people come to me and they've just been told, you just need to go and see this person. They don't really know what they're going for. And then, when we get down into it, they're kind of like, oh, I'm not too sure about this. But when we get into it and the emotions come up and the age comes up, then they're like, oh my God, yeah, that had such an effect on me. Or, so then they realize, okay, there's something to this. And
Yeah. So you're always bringing people, is that the idea? You're always bringing them back to the root cause or causes, let's say. Is that how it works?
yeah, absolutely. So somebody comes in with an issue, so say the digestive issue, I come in and I connect in with the body and just use a muscle test to connect in with the body. So this is what I love about the emotion code and body code as well, is there is no guesswork. It is your body talking to me through muscle testing. So it's just asking the body, what is the underlying reason for this? And I have a series. Sorry, she's just barking crazy.
Well, it's okay.
Um, I have a series of maps then in an app that actually bring me to where we need to go in the body. So there's a few different areas that might be the root cause, or usually it's a combination of lots of different things. So it's, it can be something physical like toxicity, nutritional deficiencies, or something, pathogen.
Say that again. A pathogen, is it?
Yes, it could be pathogen, so viral, bacterial, fungal, parasites, that kind of issue. There can be missing. So if things like working the way they should be, or if they, if they're aligned slightly, we think of kind of the back being misaligned. Misalignments where, there might be a part of the body just not aligned perfectly. And even if it's a fracture of a millimeter out, it doesn't work as well as it should do. So you find out then the underlying reason why that is. Now, often that's emotions, but the biggest part and the most time we're spent, the root causes for the issues that we hold on to is that emotional element. So it's just working with the body to find out, what the emotion is, where does it come from? So I can actually go down through the chart of emotions and muscle test and ask the body, what's the emotion that we're holding here, or what's causing the issue, and find out what the emotion is, what age it occurred at. Now, what I love about the emotion code is you don't have to go back into that. You don't have to remember what that is. Often people, especially if it's a major event, people will go, I know exactly what that is. But more often than not as well, it's like, I don't know what that is. I can't remember. And that's okay, because you don't have to consciously remember to release the energy. So the energy is held in the body. And the way I look at things as well, you've been through it already. You don't need to be going back through it again. We can just clear the energy.
So you could, yeah, sorry.
Go ahead.
Yeah, sorry. No, but this is what really blows my mind as well, is because most of the time I would still, and I love that. I mean, I think that's what keeps many people maybe from looking at something in their past that they're not sure, but they know something is sort of holding them back, is that, oh my God, I'm going to have to go and talk about it for hours and relive it and drag it all up and feel it all again. And what you're saying, that isn't the case at all.
They don't even have to tell me what that is. Sometimes they don't even know. Sometimes they do.
Yeah.
And about it, and that's fine. So they can keep all of that to themselves. They don't need to, because all it is, basically what it is when I'm accessing that, it's like a little ball of energy that when something happens and we don't process that emotion in the time, it's like a little ball of energy that gets stuck in the body, and it gets stuck in different places depending on maybe what the emotion is, or maybe sometimes it's a weak spot at the time. That's where that energy goes and gets stuck. So
wow, it's like an energy. I remember hearing that. I studied craniosacral therapy for a while. I didn't go the whole way. And they used to talk about it near like an energy cyst almost, but that you'd be trying to identify where it was. So it's that type, yeah, it's a little knot, isn't it? Nearly like a muscle knot, but it's an energy knot.
yeah, exactly. Yeah. And it can be anywhere in the body, and we can hold it in all sorts of places. So it can be an organ, can be gland, can be muscle, can be bone, can be skin, absolutely anywhere in the body we can hold that energy. So it's
And
just,
so when you're releasing, sorry now, I didn't mean to interrupt you. But when you're clearing or helping that, does the person know you're even doing that? Do they sense it or feel it? Like, is there a little release with it themselves?
depends on the person, and it depends on the emotion. So some people are very connected to, and they can feel energy. So a lot of people, those people will feel it. Most people, and even like myself, a lot of the time I don't. Real strong ones you might do, but often not. Um, Children are really, they're great, and they take to it so easily, and sometimes they're going, oh, I can feel that in my belly, or something like that. So it's really fun to work with kids as well. But yeah, some people feel it, some people don't. Some people will have a release, so suddenly, people might say to me, oh my God, I don't know where these tears are coming from, I don't know why I'm crying. But it's, tears are a release, so they are releasing.
Hmm.
But a lot of the time, they just might not feel it, but they might get a little bit emotional later on in the day, or they might have crazy vivid dreams some people might have after a session, just whatever way the body processes. So it's different for everybody.
Yeah, but it's lovely to me. I mean, nearly why wouldn't you do it when you start to hear about it and understand it? Because it's, to me, I always just think of like a system of like, I don't know, a channel or pipes or whatever way you want to look at it that's got blocked up. So it's really, even your life force, your energy, your physical energy, your emotion, everything is sort of your creativity is sort of stifled, isn't it, a bit? So it's doing more than just healing maybe a physical symptom? Because is that why many people have come to you? Is it mainly a physical symptom, or would it be, oh, I'm really struggling, like I'm just so stressed or anxious or overwhelmed? Like what is bringing people to you?
Yeah, it's a complete mixture of things. So there is a lot of physical stuff. There's a lot of anxiety, a lot of depression, especially in recent years as well. A lot of people would be just stuck. It's like, oh, I'm on my journey and I just, I don't know what to do here, or I want to be able to manifest better, or, different things. So there's blocks to manifesting, or some people will come and say, I'm really stuck in a relationship. So we do some relationship work. So it can be anything. The heart wall is really good, actually, part of the
Oh
emotion.
yeah, maybe talk a little bit about that. I've heard about that before. Yeah, a little bit.
So basically a heart wall is where, when we get hurt, and most of us get hurt along the way because we don't really get through life without these things. So when we get hurt, our body does what it can do to try and protect us from that hurt again. So what it'll do is it'll actually build a wall around our heart. And that wall is made up of trapped emotional energy. So it's great to have it at the time, that we need it, but it's not great to live life with a wall around your heart. So it's just about accessing that and finding out. The way I work with it might be slightly different to some. I like to find the underlying reasons why you're still holding on to that wall, because for me, if you don't deal with that, the wall is just going to rebuild itself. So what's the underlying reason for still holding on to that wall? And then when we release those issues, we can start to work with releasing that heart wall. So heart wall, when we have one, there can be physical symptoms, as in like, stiffness across the shoulders and the neck, or a heaviness here on the heart area. Emotionally, then it can really stop us from being part of something. So it can make us feel like we're on the outside looking in, never fully involved. And a lot of people kind of will relate to that. And it can affect our relationships as well, because even the love that we're giving, if it's coming from your heart, that has to go through this wall that's made up of all of these trapped emotional energy. So the energy you're sending from your heart, if that has to go through anger and grief and resentment and whatever else emotions might be there, might be sorrow, might be fear, might be your anxiety, by the time that comes through that wall, it's not the same energy. So you mightn't be even attracting the right energy for you.
Yeah. And like, would you find then, so if, I mean, someone may not come to you and say, I want to clear my heart wall, but it'll likely come up, I presume, during the session. And it sort of strikes me, so say you clear those energies, and it's understandable. I think so many of us are going around, I imagine, with heart walls, yeah, like our world, I think you just have to look at the state of our world, and it gives you a good sense of, there's a hard wall and we're all us and them and one against the other. And, that's sort of a protection, isn't it? Sort of, they have to be wrong so I can feel okay.
Yeah.
We're all a little bit in that. But if you clear that, and I suppose it's a brave thing for somebody to say, okay, I'm willing to let down these defenses, does it mean when they leave you, like with you people saying, oh my God, I'm going to be open now to everything? Or how does it end up after a session for people?
Yeah, a lot of people are very willing and ready to let it go. And the funny thing is, because you're working with the body, you're not doing anything that the body's not ready for. So it won't release fully if it's not ready to.
Yeah, that's very reassuring, I think, for listeners as well, to know with anything like this, if it's new to you, your body's intelligence. That's what I found as well, isn't it? Exactly. You have to consent. That wisdom of your body won't consent, basically, if you're not ready. Yeah,
And
yeah.
the thing about this is, because
It's amazing.
it could take a few sessions to release a heart wall fully, or sometimes you might just need that small little bit still, if you're still going through something quite difficult. But a lot of the time you'll get to a stage where you can clear it. Like a lot of sessions, I will clear a heart wall in one session. Sometimes it takes a little bit longer.
Would there be many experiences that would have made up that heart wall, let's say? Would there
Or
be? So one builds on another. It's almost, because I want to ask you where then your beliefs come into that, because I've noticed that if something has happened in your life and you were hurt, for whatever reason, say you were ignored, sometimes it's often something small, isn't it, that would appear insignificant, but then it causes a pattern, and then a belief sort of comes up around that, okay, I have to be a certain way, or I'm not good enough, or there's a lot of these sort of ones that we all carry. So I imagine that's a part of it too, that unless you're sort of not reprogramming yourself in a way, you can be back in the same boat again.
And that's it, and that's it. And again, the body will tell you that. So a lot of the time that will come up at the beginning of when I'm starting to work with the heart wall, and I say, what's the reason for holding on to this? So often that's that can be a belief. So we'll go to the belief and we'll work through that and release that belief. And when I work with beliefs, I like to, when I clear the energy of the belief, I bring in something positive then to replace that, to fill that space.
And are the beliefs quite easy to clear? Because the, or not easy, I suppose, but does it take, because it just strikes me that, yeah, if it's been ingrained for many years, I suppose it can be maybe a
Yeah,
little bit stubborn.
suddenly your whole belief system and all your program is not there anymore. It's not quite as simple as that. But with the energy of it cleared,
Hmm.
a lot easier, kind of, so hopefully it kind of breaks that thought pattern, but we can hold on to those beliefs if we want to, if we keep going back to those same
They're painful, aren't they? They're sort of, they become, it's very interesting when you say it because I've noticed it sometimes with certain things in my life where through my own healing, the energy, I can feel it, the energy of something is sort of gone. And sometimes in my mind, I'll mentally go and look for, oh yeah, but they're such and such and such, whatever belief I was holding. And it almost becomes, I can't find it, or it's very difficult because, as you said, there isn't a big charge there behind it that I can get really caught up in. And I often nearly go, oh, I can't be thinking that anymore or something. It's like you said, doesn't it? It nearly loses it's like this grip, this vice grip that starts to loosen.
yeah,
Is that sort of how, because the energy isn't supporting it, the energy isn't there. Is that sort of what?
exactly. So and it varies for different people as well, because for a lot of us it's, there's layers and layers and layers and layers of this stuff, so we need time to work through it all. So it mightn't be as simple as releasing one belief. There could be a lot more that fit in.
Yes, yes.
That, so it can be a little bit more intricate, but we do get there in the end.
Yeah. And do you find with clients, I'd just be very curious, so you're doing this work with them. For many, their lives must change quite dramatically, do they? Like if you're going into the emotions and then changing the belief system and that all changes, like have you just some examples that you can share of, or where maybe clients have shared with you what it has led to for them?
Oh wow, yeah, there's been so many.
Mm.
Even to see people go from pain to no pain is just phenomenal, and how their life just changes with that. But I one girl who we weren't even. It's funny, and this often happens often. I would be working on one area, they wouldn't have told me something else that was going on, but then that area clears up. So I had one lady who had eating disorders when she was a teenager, and even though she had worked through a lot of that, her brain was constantly thinking about food and the calories in food, and what you should eat and what you shouldn't eat and everything. And after a few sessions, she came back and she said that chatter is gone completely, and we hadn't even focused on that.
God.
Amazing.
That's
So,
incredible because that's a huge, any sort of addiction is very, isn't it? Can be really deeply ingrained. And it can be hard to sort of shift because you've all the, I suppose, the beliefs and maybe the survival with it. What, or in your experience, just taking that example, say of food or, some sort of addiction around food, is there a sort of a pattern or an energy broadly? I know everybody's experiences are different, but that are behind that?
well, with eating disorders, a lot of the time it's lack of control. So that's the one
Mm.
in control.
Mm.
Not about food, and it's not about anything else.
Mm.
About obviously, a lot of the time it goes back to the issues with parents and maybe not feeling supported or loved or not enough, and just feeling completely out of control. Where the only thing then left that they could control
Mm.
was food.
Yeah, yeah. I know it's very interesting, isn't it? The different sort of patterns. And even in terms of, because you were saying there's a variety of things like the emotional, energetic patterns, the sort of inherited patterns, food, toxicities. I know you've talked about, and I heard someone else, not in connection to the emotion code and body code, but they were talking about broadly three themes that sort of cover many of the issues that stop us maybe from living at our full potential. And they probably come under that. They were trauma was one, deficiencies in something was another, and I think no deprivation and toxicity. I don't know, they'd have broadly grouped into three categories of, I think that was it. Yeah, toxicity, deprivation, and trauma, which probably in some way that's sort of,
Yeah.
is
Sounds
it like
right.
broadly what you're saying there?
Yeah.
Um, yeah, that they sort of
Yeah, that sounds pretty spot on. Yeah.
and so with the emotion code and body code, you have then moved to lots of other therapies, haven't you, since then? So what has your 20 years with the emotion code and body code, are you? Oh
Uh,
no, sorry, no, that's more recent
yeah, the
after
motion,
Reiki.
but I'm trying to remember the timeline now. I studied kinesiology, was kind of, I know I did the Reiki and everything fairly well.
Mm,
I didn't really do a whole lot with that. It was just when I started doing the kinesiology training in 2010 that I was really excited to kind of go out into the world and do this. So I opened my practice in 2012 doing kinesiology, but it was very soon, if not even around that time, my sister had sent me a link of Bradley Nelson doing the emotion code, and I had a little look at the video, and I was like, that seems very simple. I wonder could it be that simple? Because I love simple. I hate complicated, convoluted ways of doing things. I just like it's very, very simple. Um, so I started kind of playing around with it, and even incorporated in some of the sessions, because just to see what happened as I was working a little bit on myself and my friends. But then even when I was getting kinesiology clients, it might go to something emotional, and I'd take out the chart and just check and see, and it was coming up quite a lot then. So it was nearly got to a stage then, but it was nearly taking over my session. So I was like, oh, I need to go and do the certifying this, and so I went and got did the course then for the emotion code.
mm. And when, yeah,
13 maybe.
okay, yeah.
Yeah.
So it's quite a long time. I thought it was more recent.
Yeah, no,
And
12 years would be.
wow. And was there an openness in Ireland then? Like that's quite a while back. Like,
Yeah, yeah, there was actually. It's funny. It's very different now. It's so much open now. The last for when I. It's funny the way things go. But when I started doing kinesiology, people would say, "What do you do?" And I'd say kinesiology, and they would, "Kini what? What does? Don't understand what you're talking about." Now, when I say to people, I do the emotion code and body code, they'd say, "Oh, what's that?" And I said, "Well, it's like a form of kinesiology." "Oh, yeah, okay." you know
that's incredible.
it's changed so quickly.
Yeah, yeah. That is incredible. But I think, like, how would you, in sort of bringing the work that you're doing to the greater shifts that are going on in the planet or the world, how would you describe what is happening right now? Have you, because everybody's viewing what's going on in the world. You can look at it from so many different
Yeah.
lenses, let's say. So to you,
Yeah,
what's happening?
I think it's exciting. I think the shift in is happening so quickly. Like the huge awakening of people in from 2020, and those few years, it was just suddenly people were like, "There's more to life than work," and you know, work and paying bills. I need to do something different, and they kind of it gave people the time, I think, to understand how much connection with family and friends was important. Um, and I think it brought people kind of to open up to kind of looking at different ways of doing things, and brought them more into, I've been to the doctor and consultants and this, that, and the other with this issue, and they're not helping. So there has to be something different, and to opening up people to lots of different. Well, let's try something really different, and then they go down their own huge big path of awakening. And I think this seems to be another huge shift that's happening really quickly.
Yeah. Even since the beginning of this year, I think, and my sense, because it started for me, I would say in a big way in 2016, but I felt it for many years before because just there was lots of jolts and shake-ups and then going back, not maybe being aware or hearing or being ready or being able, I don't know, and then eventually getting a major jolt, and I wouldn't change it, you know. Um, I actually had a conversation with a woman I'm going to interview in a few months who's living with what she's been told is terminal cancer. And she said, it's never, imagine to say, she said, it's been the greatest gift. I mean, to be in that place and to look at her, I've never seen anyone who looks more alive. But anyways, that's another story that's separately, but it's brought her to a place, I suppose, of really appreciating what life is. I don't want to speak for her, but I can speak for myself and say, exactly as you said, there has to be more. I remember sitting in my car for a few years before I was diagnosed going, and I'd be driving in traffic to work going, this can't be it. Is this really what I came here for? Like it can't be why I was born. And and I know it's different for everyone because we'll all have different life paths and maybe you'll go off. And I didn't have children, so I often say, well, maybe that, no, I wouldn't say accelerate it because I'm quite a slow learner, but you might be diverted into other things in your life that take your energy, and there's a purpose and there's a love and a joy that comes from it, particularly if you have children. So that's sort of your purpose. But yeah, it's quite different. Yeah, it's different for everyone. Um, and as a result, so just in talking about, just want to talk a little bit more about going in, rather than we'll go into the qhht as well in a moment or two, because it's so, I think it's very good to just open up sort of what's available to people that they may not be aware. And I'm meeting more and more people who are quite stressed and maybe feeling like you said this, there has to be more to life, but sometimes we're trying to work through it in a mental way that isn't possible. Kind of, I know you have sort of through the emotion code and body code, but is there a way to sort of help people maybe understand that in a different way, that it has to be a more complete, um
And we
you
work
know
as body as a whole, like, and that's what I think the medical system we have at the moment is like. There's heart specialists, there's a lung a specialist. They look at all the different parts of the body separately, and they don't even talk to each other. Whereas the body is just, you need a holistic approach where you look at the body as a whole, because something that's going on, like, even like that migraines, because is a whole separate thing with the medical system to, like, look at, okay, so what's going on maybe in the gut that might be contributing to that, because it all works together.
Mm,
So sometimes a misalignment in your little toe can cause migraines, something that you'd never think works together. So it's like working at the body as a complete whole, and then what's going on in life as well. Because what I say to people when they come in and they talk about something huge that happened, my first question is, something, major illness happened, or, some big accident happened, or, and my first question is like, what was going on in your life at that time? And then they'll say, some big trauma that's happened, or just before that. And that's how the body has reacted to it. So it's just looking at things a little bit different. It's not to go running for, a tablet or something that's going to make this symptom go away. It's what's the message the symptom's trying to give me.
yeah, like that seems really, that nearly sort of leads to the quantum healing hypnosis technique. Does that lead into that one way? Because then you've got to be open to, okay, I've got to the root cause emotionally maybe and looking at my beliefs, but understanding that there is a message, and what is the message means you have to be opened up to another view of the world, don't you?
Yeah,
You
exactly.
know, because they say, what do you mean a message? So how would you talk about that, or how
Yeah.
does that come up primarily? Maybe talk a little bit about the QHHT.
So I would have listened to Dolorescannon, who is, she created quantum healing hypnosis technique, who's an absolutely amazing woman. If have you ever seen any of her videos? If you haven't, I
Mm.
recommend looking her up. She's just an amazing soul. But she started off, I think, it could have been in the 60s, was her first experience with hypnotherapy. And somebody by mistake went into a past life in a session, and I was talking about a different lifetime completely. And then she just worked on that and developed over 40, 50 years, just kept developing her modality until she arrived at QHHT, which is quantum healing hypnosis. I had, as I said, I was aware of her, but I didn't really look too much into it. I think it was around 2020 where I really got into listening to reading her books, which are really mind blowing. Like, I would be open to a lot, but some of the stuff in the books, I was just like, hang on here a second, I need time to digest this.
She said three waves of volunteers. Is that one of, yeah, she talks a lot, doesn't she?
Yes.
Coming to Earth. Yeah.
Yeah, so it's talking about, some people who really just don't feel like they're home here, that they don't belong here, that they don't fit in, that everything is just completely, alien to them. And she's talking about, well, it's most likely their first experience on Earth, that they have never had a lifetime before here, where a lot of us, have had quite a good few lifetimes here already. And so it's difficult if you come down into the heavy here of all the emotions that we have, that they mightn't have been, these souls wouldn't have experienced before. And so she explains about the three waves of volunteers and how the first wave kind of paved the way for the next two waves.
Were they in the 50s or something? Was that
Yeah,
one of the 60s
yeah, 50s to
or
60s.
earlier?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then the second wave came and the third wave. But I see that with the children that I work with now, like they're just amazing souls. They're teaching us, the stuff that they come in with, and they're such an open to the energies. I'm so excited about where this is going, because with these amazing souls that are coming through, when they're grown up with this awareness and not being forced to shut it down, like most people, would have been forced to shut it down, they're being encouraged to open up to these energies. So I think it's going to be absolutely amazing when these children reach adults. Uh,
Yeah. And like, I think we can forget that. Well, I can sometimes, you're looking out at the world and you're thinking of it from the point of view of us, let's say at a certain age, forgetting that it's the children growing up that are going to shape it in the future more. I think, yeah, like when you talk about the waves, or she talks about the three waves, I think there's many people feel like almost a bridge between an old and a new world. I don't know. I feel like that sometimes. I feel like I never really fit in the old world, and I'm sort of finding I'm older now. So I'm not like the young children, so I'm sort of finding my way, but I'm
yeah.
aware. So it's like there is an openness there. And then, but like you said, the young children are coming in just completely. So how do the children that come to you, why are they coming to you?
Again, lots of reasons. So it can be sleep issues, digestive issues, skin issues, anxiety is again, it's a major one. So the kind of they're the kind of main teams, but yeah.
Yeah. So their parents are obviously quite open who are coming to you, that they would, they don't just go to the doctor, like that they're bringing them to you.
Well, sometimes I've been down that road and
Okay.
it hasn't helped. So a lot of the time I'm the last resort. It's like, oh, nothing else is working.
Number of years you'll be the first resort, I'm sure. Why not go the easy way?
I know,
I'm
yeah.
a big believer in the natural route if you can, and everybody's choice to choose, but that's been my experience too. Getting to root cause is the only way for me, I'll say. I won't speak on behalf of anyone else. But what are you finding with the children when you say, okay, there's the anxiety, and yeah, it seems to be just so widespread now. What is often coming up if they're very open and aware and probably remembering what's
Yeah,
happening there?
and especially with a lot of sensitive children, they are really struggling in the school systems, especially where maybe secondary school, maybe more so than primary, where, the secondary school, a teacher might be given out or, reprimanding another student. The sensitive child feels that as if it's themselves.
Hmm.
They might do nothing wrong the whole time, but when that teacher might be screaming and shouting at another student, they're feeling that as if it's themselves. So they can't cope with that energy. It's just too much. And then they're scared of getting something wrong. Of what if they do that to me, even though they're feeling the same way anyway. So it causes huge anxiety for people, or for children.
Yeah. So they're really feeling, I mean, I sort of can get that because I always felt it by, myself a bit in life. But it seems then for those young children growing up that energetically learning what is theirs and isn't, and boundaries, or how do you support that then? Because unfortunately, those environments are still there. And although things are changing, those systems are still there for now.
I think even children, they understand that as well once they're kind of once you tell them. But when you clear their energy and stuff as well, because they might have absorbed that stuff, or even it might be triggers for something, you know, that they might be holding on to, or again, inherited stuff as well. When you clear the energy, it really helps them.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. And yeah. And so how we were beginning to talk a little bit about the QHHT and dolorescannon. Yeah, and talking about the different waves and the children. So maybe just talk a little bit about how a session like that might go for, yeah,
Yeah.
for any listeners.
It is, as I said, quantum healing. It's a session that lasts at least, you know, usually around 5 hours.
Oh my God. Yeah, I thought I'd heard that. That's incredible.
Sometimes
5 hours.
5. So you do, you know, I do tell people to allow 5 hours. It doesn't always take 5 hours, but sometimes it can take a little bit longer as well. So when I do a QHHT session, I just block off my day, you know, so it's just, I don't take
It
any.
must take a lot from you too. I
Well,
don't know.
so it doesn't really take too much from,
Mm,
I think, you know, I enjoy it as well. So, but people think, oh my God, I'm in hypnosis for 5 hours. You're not. You know, it starts off with a chat about their lifetime and why they want a session. So I can get an idea of, you know, what they're hoping to achieve. You know, what is the things that they want to learn from the session. What's you know, why are they there basically, and it gives them an opportunity, I suppose, to get to know me. You know, just to feel comfortable in my energy, because you know you have to be able to trust the person that you do a QHHT with, our session with. So it's just then when we have that chat, then I get them to lie down and bring them into, you know, into hypnosis. And hypnosis really is just a deep state of relaxation. You know, people think that they don't have control, or I might make them do silly things, or they wouldn't know. Whereas they're totally aware. They know exactly, and the only way you can go into hypnosis if you're in agreement with that. Um,
mm,
and you know they're fully aware. Most people now are actually remember the whole session. Before, when Dolores was originally doing it, a lot of people would have come back up from the session and not remembered a single part of it. But she explained that as the energies were changing, because we were becoming more aware and more connected with our higher selves on a daily basis anyway, we can stay aware then for that.
mm,
So we can, she notices as the energy was rising, the vibration was rising, that that wasn't really happening anymore. The people didn't go where they just woke up and didn't remember anything,
mm.
or that conscious part of them were aware of what was happening the whole time. So basically I bring them into hypnosis, into a, you know, where they're relaxed, and bring them back into, most of the time, into a past life. Basically your body, your higher self, the QHHT is working with your higher self. It's guiding the session. So it's your higher self bringing you to where you need to go to find the information that you need.
And
So
for anyone who may not identify, which is a very popular word now, with the higher self, is another word you could use like subconscious. You know, when you talk about the unconscious mind and the subconscious, is the
it's,
subconscious more connected with the higher self?
yes. So originally Dolores would have called it the subconscious, because she
Okay.
call it, but
Yeah.
most often the subconscious is nearly, yeah. So that's that part of ourselves that knows a lot and kind of might be. Subconscious sometimes can be more childlike because it's kind of stuck. It holds all the traumas and stuff that happens. But the higher self sometimes is called a superconscious.
Yes. Yeah. That's how I'd feel about, yeah, I know
Yeah,
there can be different ways. Yeah. You're connected to more all of consciousness. That's, well, we are all
yeah, exactly.
consciousness. So,
So it's that part of you that knows everything about everything.
mm. It's like, well, I don't know. Sorry, if I can just say, and I mean, I'm sure many people listening will have their own way of connecting to it. I sort of see it's like an umbilical cord to all that is. Like we're an aspect of all that is, but it's that way of tapping into it. Sometimes it gets a little bit blocked up, or yeah, like you said. So okay, so you're bringing someone.
So we bring someone back. So as I said, yeah, the superconscious, the higher self, is bringing us back to where we need to go to. So oftentimes that's a past life. Sometimes it's this lifetime. Past life can be absolutely anywhere, but it's what they need at the time. So it brings them maybe to a past life, we'll say. So we bring them through the past life, so to different key events that happen in life, kind of give us an understanding of what that life is about, what maybe happened in that life. And then we bring them through the death of that life, which is really interesting. And if you ever had that, you wouldn't as a qhht practitioner, because it's an absolutely amazing experience. It is just so gentle. It's just like there's no major thing happens. It's just like just a shift. We're just a step out of the body, and that's it.
You can often go through.
So we bring them through what happens. So they'll tell me, I'll come to the last day of their life and they're telling me what's happening. So sometimes that could be, the end of an illness. Sometimes, for more like, depending on the time, but a lot of times maybe more evolved souls will be kind of like, it's time just to leave this body now. And they just cross over then. Sometimes it's, it could be in battle, or it could be, something very sudden happens. But all the time, it's always just the soul steps out, and then they can.
Sorry, yeah.
They can look back at them.
Yeah. And what purpose is that serving for those clients who come to you? So is it that they're saying, there's some, I feel like beyond the emotion code or the body code, there's something else that's going on that I need to get to the root of, that feels like it's bigger? Is that sort of often the case, that there's something else?
Yeah. Can be, there could be things that are happening in their life that they just don't know why they're happening. Maybe a series of events, or relationships that they're in that just can't understand, or a lot of questions be, why was I placed in the family that I grew up with, or why did this, all these different things happen, or why do I continue to have this issue happen, that doesn't really make sense. So it can be a lot of those issues.
So you're going beyond this life, even though I know with the other you can look at ancestral stuff. So this is bringing you even more further back, or further into, a greater understanding of your life, really.
Oftentimes when we don't resolve things from past lives, we bring that energy with us as well, and we recreate it in this life, because there's still something we need to learn from it. So we can do that learning in hypnosis, to go back and see what's happened. And that gives us a better understanding. And it's often people go, oh gosh, that makes so much sense now, and why this happened. But the most, I suppose, the good part of bringing somebody through the death process, it actually brings them back, it brings them down into a deeper level of hypnosis. So it brings it down a little, further, because it's so relaxing. It's such an amazing process as well. So they go deeper into hypnosis, and at that stage you can usually, now it doesn't happen all the time, but most sessions, and the aim of the session really is, to get to speak to this. You actually get to speak to that higher version of yourself, that higher self, that super conscious, whatever part of it, words you'd like to use. So people would come in with a list of questions that they'd like answers, and at that stage I can ask their higher self those questions. So it's really, brings such awareness to their story, I suppose, and to maybe their way forward. Yeah.
And that's, so when you say you're not under hypnosis, obviously, as you said, for the 5 hours, but you obviously are for quite a while if it's 5 hours.
Yeah. Most people in hypnosis, the longest most people can stay in hypnosis would be 2 hours. Anything over that, and it's too much. So generally the most you'd be in hypnosis would be 2 hours, but it can be anything up to that, depending on what way the session goes.
Okay. So a lot, yeah. Okay. And the person isn't, the only related thing I can say I did experience was, past life regression and, or timeline. And I remember being at the point of before I died. I don't know that I went through the death, but what it was like, and what sort of an imprint that left on me, because it had been quite a lonely, sad ending. It was like, oh my God, please don't let that be this life. But it gave me a lot of perspective. It really did. It really did. A sort of an understanding to go, okay, all of this isn't, it sort of is imprinted, like how, like, do you find, find it difficult to even have this when you're talking to people about this? You know, how do you describe, I suppose, what am I trying to ask, in a bigger sense, for someone who might be, I wouldn't say skeptical or cannot really grasp the type of work that you do? And I know you talked about the intelligence of the body. How do you, I suppose, explain this, or, you know, how do you open their minds to something greater, if you can?
Well, I never set out to open someone's mind.
Yeah, well, yeah, I know that's not really the right
Yeah,
words, but that
yeah,
sounds
well,
awful. But share maybe how, yeah,
yeah,
what's happening.
I don't try to convince people of anything. If it's something, if it's not on their path, or if they're not open to it, that's fine.
Yeah,
You know,
yeah,
that's their thing. I
yeah.
don't sense to it. But a lot of people will come in skeptical, and you just have to, just explain and just show them. And usually when they see it, they understand and they feel the benefit. Because some people say, I don't know what you did, but I feel better. you
I
know?
know. Well, that can be enough, isn't it? You know, that's that's often, yeah, what we need. And for many of the children that you spoke about there that are coming in, what's your sense of, you know, there's a lot of talk now, and there's a lot of children with different diagnoses and labels, and, you know, struggling on the sort of the spectrum, as they call it. How do you, what would I say, understand or work with that? To me, it's a high level of sensitivity, but I, you know, I don't.
Yeah, you see, there's
Yeah.
different ways to do it as well. You see, for me, I think these souls coming in, as I said, they're of a higher vibration. So I think it's like, it's breaking down the structures that we have as well. Because how many children now don't fit into that school system? It's not designed to support these children. So it needs to change the children. People are trying to change the children in so they can go to school, but the school system needs to change so they can embrace these children. Um, but I liken the children with neurodivergence and different issues that are going on. I think it's similar to, I don't know if you remember Doreen Virtue.
Mm.
At the time, she would have talked years ago about the different children coming in that were indigo children and rainbow children and crystal children. I think it's the same thing. These are such high vibrational energies, and they don't do well with toxins.
Mm.
So anything,
Yes.
food is just full of toxins. Medications are full of toxins. They don't do well with this. Uh,
Yes. Yeah,
so
that seems to be a huge issue right now. And I actually wanted to touch on that, this whole issue of toxins in food and medication and everything. That's become even a bigger, isn't it? I've noticed it myself. I have a huge sensitivity now that I didn't have to things that I could have eaten or could have taken. And my body is just like, no, not, can't. I just can't, even if I wanted to. So that's part of this vibrational shift we're in, isn't it? As well as these children being of a higher vibration.
yeah, exactly. I think yeah, we just need to try and clean up the food we're giving them. Try and not be running to medications all the time or looking for outside things to protect them from different things. If the body's healthy and they're getting good nutrition, a lot of the time that's the best thing for them. Um, so it's
What would be your advice? Sorry, not, I don't know, you're not maybe a nutritionist, but even around food and toxins, what sort of
different.
words of advice might you have?
Child to child. So I would muscle test the foods and just check and see what's okay, what's not. The two major foods that come up most often are wheat and dairy. They're
Mhm.
go-to ones. If I
And what is it in the both of those? Like, is it that there's something added, like hormones and stuff, or is it,
yeah,
yeah.
for me, for wheat, people talk about gluten intolerance and different things like that. For me, it's actually how they've changed the grains. So some people can eat kind of more there's grains that are maybe not changed very much, and people would be able to accept them easier, but we've kind of changed the grains to maybe get a better yield, or to get more money, or this kind of stuff. We've changed it. The A lot of the time it's not a wheat, or it's not a wheat intolerance. It's actually it's like this the spray, the herbicides, the pesticides they use on the plants. That's the intolerance. We're intolerant to toxins that they've sprayed the plants with. And even with wheat, like they spray it and then they spray it again just before they harvest it, because again they get more of a yield, because it kind of ripens it a little bit more, so they get more of a yield when they spray just before harvesting. So it's just full of toxins. So it's not that grain's the problem, it's the toxins. That's my understanding of it.
Yeah.
They do say that grasses would have been something that you ate in famine times. It's not a natural food anyway. It's just something you would eat if you were starving.
Mm, mm. What about dairy then? The same, I presume, is it just
Dairy, yeah,
hormones?
uh, it's the hormones. Like dairy,
Yeah.
I do have dairy, which because it's nice.
Oh,
but
I know.
but it's designed for baby cows.
Mm,
Milk is designed for baby cows. But again, it does have its health benefits because it has a lot of good nutrition in it. But it has like that as well. It depends how the cow was treated, depends what medications and antibiotics and different things that they've given the cows. That comes through in the milk.
mm.
So yeah, if organic if is definitely the way to go if you want to have dairy.
Yeah, or knowing where it comes from at least, isn't it? It seems like you said with the children showing us it's coming. I just feel it's very happening in very interesting ways, the way things are being deconstructed, let's say, so we can build the type of world that we are meant to live in. It's sort of coming in very unusual ways. Like you said, we're saying all these children have problems. The children don't have problems. We have the problems. Our systems have the problems. And then these things with food, I'm going, oh, we're all getting intolerances now. But it's just that it's showing this is not natural. Like, as I said, I really, and it feels like it's going to become, I don't know, but just speaking from my own experience, a bigger issue unless we address it. Because if the vibration or that sort of energy is constantly rising to sort of a purer, higher frequency on the planet, if people relate to that, then your body just isn't going to be, those problems are just going to get bigger and bigger, aren't they? Until we just stop using things that cause that.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah. So nature has its way, doesn't it? Whether we like it or not, nature has its own unique way of showing us,
Yeah, I think
you
so.
know.
It's just an overload of toxins because you can't get away from it really. You know, even if your diet was pretty clean, then what's in the water or what's in the air or
It's
so
never ending, really, is it?
yeah, so
Like,
yeah, we
yeah, even like with clothes, I don't know. Many people say, and I find certain materials I can't wear anymore, unless they're natural. And I think it's polyester. There's one that my skin crawls if I put it on. And I just have to be so careful, you
and the
know.
other one then like what are this recycled plastics? It's like how is that good? Because anything you have on the skin goes into the body. So how is it good wearing plastic?
Yeah, that's very interesting, isn't it? Yeah, because when you say it, I think that realization, I'm using essential oils more and I talk about them a lot because they're just a bit of a passion for me now. And I use the doTERRA essential oils because I really like them and I find them very pure and natural. But it was when I started to realize everything going on your skin is going into your bloodstream. Like oh my God, that. So I never even thought of it in terms of clothes, like you say, that.
Yeah,
That is what is going in. And then we wonder why things are,
yeah. They say
problems are showing up.
skin that you wouldn't eat.
Pardon?
You should never put anything on your skin that you wouldn't eat.
Yeah. Whoa. Okay. Yeah. I've a little bit of work to do. I'm doing well. I'm doing better than I did. But yeah, that's a very good, that's a good way. And you'll know by how you feel. I think, isn't that? This is what we're learning. Trust how you feel about all these things. And maybe just some final words of advice, Jillian, or encouragement, or, that can help people who maybe are hearing everything and you're saying and go, gosh, yeah, I can really, identify, or I am struggling. I don't know. There are very few people you meet today who say they aren't struggling in some way. So even for themselves, what they might do to support, because it feels like this year is going to be faster and more furious. And great, but a lot happening.
What I'd love for people is to be able to connect with their own body. So it's can be relatively easy to learn self muscle testing. So you can muscle test yourself, because there's such like I don't know if you look at any of the videos that's out there or any of the information that's coming through, one is telling you that this food is the absolute best food that you can have, and the very next video comes up and tells you this food, the same food, is the worst thing you can have for your body, and it's just such conflicting. It's like, oh, you need plant-based. No, you need protein. You need, and it's just so confusing. Like people are just left. I don't know what's good for me, or who to believe. But the thing is, everyone's different. So what suits one person might not suit the other, might not be the best. So I think by being able to muscle test yourself, find out what your body wants.
Mm.
Rather.
And we do, sorry, would you mind? Because I did a little bit of muscle testing for myself and I use a pendulum and I often do. Is it that way you can do if people are watching? Do you want to do a little? I think it just might be nice because I think you can teach yourself this, can't you? And you
Yeah.
can do the sway test with your body. I've done that sometimes as well as with the pendulum. So can you just maybe just talk through how you might do that? And maybe you might just give an example. I'll do maybe
Sure.
test one for me to see what.
Yeah. So basically, if for something, the easiest one for somebody at home can do, if somebody's watching this and they want to know how to muscle test themselves, the easiest one I find is the sway test. So
Okay.
basically, just stand with your feet, on the ground, hip wide apart, relax the body, drop the shoulders, and just ask your body. Well, even if you want to, even think of a word, like if you were to think of the word love, and just see what your body does and just allow it to move. And often for the word love, you'll sway forward, you'll find yourself swaying forward. And then if you were to think of the word hate, or even if you were to think of something that really causes stress, your body's going to go back. It's going to sway back, because we'll go forward. If you think, the way I like to think of it is like, if you think of a plant, it grows towards the sun, so it goes
Mm.
forward. But it'll go back away for something that's negative, that's stressful. Your body will go back. So even if you want to hold a piece of fruit, and if you hold it to your heart center, and you probably can't see me here, but you can hold
Mhm.
the heart center and just see what way the body goes. Does it go forward? Does it go back? And just practice with it and have fun with it. Um,
Mm.
and just and that's the easiest way. And you can then, even with you can ask a yes no question. So if you just, again, relax the body and just ask for body to show you a yes response, it should go forward, and no to go back. You can do it with your name as well, as simple as that. You can just, say your name and see, does it go forward or back.
Mm.
Name is Joe, it's going to go back because it's not true. So anything
Yes.
you're going to kind of repel away from, and anything that's truth will move forward.
That's a lovely way to look at it, the forward and back, as in, yeah, you're going towards it. Like, yeah, someone forgets, but isn't it what I've tried to do it when I'm probably overthinking or stressed. So it's key that you're sort of quite, isn't it? Or am I right in saying that like being sort of trying to be quite calm and neutral, because often we want a result, we want it to be something, to be a certain answer. So it's often hard to stay in that. That's why it is good to have someone else too.
Yeah, and I say that as well, because it is good to have somebody else that can test this for you as well, because you can get caught up in your own emotions and stuff. I've done it myself. Even it's so much easier to muscle test somebody else than yourself, I find, because you're not attached to the outcome. But for yourself, you are attached to the outcome, so it can get a little bit. Your conscious mind can interfere with things. So I even will go to somebody else sometimes if I'm struggling with something, and I'll say, "Can you just test this for me?" So they'll test for me, just in case because I know your conscious mind can come in and can interfere, especially if you're very emotional about what it is.
Yeah, and that's often when you want an answer, when you are stressed. So it's sort of counterintuitive in a way. But can you do the sway test for someone else?
You can, yeah. So
Can.
basically,
Okay.
just ask to connect in. There's no limitation to energy. And if I were, a lot of my sessions I do online, So I will just act as proxy for them. So I'll connect in with their energy, and all the muscle testing then I'm doing will be for them. So I can actually test their energy. So it's yeah, it's very simple to do. Exact same thing. You're setting the intention that
Yeah.
connecting in with that person's energy, and then what you'll do. So if I connected in with your energy, I could just then say, so if I just ask, can I connect with Celine's energy? This is the other way, is the ring and ring method. That's
Yeah.
so it's just two circles, and you put in a ring and ring, and it's a yes, it holds strong, and then if it's a no, it'll kind of weaken. You break the link.
Yeah. Maybe do one for me now.
So if I asked if I can, first of all, I just generally connect and see, can I connect in with Celine's energy? And that's a yes, I can. And then I'll ask, do I have permission? So I have permission to do that. And that's a yes. And then if I check and see, well, would you like to release an emotion just to see
Yeah.
how?
Yeah. Why not? If you're happy to do that,
Yeah.
and it just shows people as well.
Yeah. So
I don't have a complete. I've been releasing a lot of them recently.
set the intention that it's nice and gentle and nothing very, very dramatic. So is there an emotion? I've just had the chart here in front of me. So is there an emotion on the chart that I can release for Celine? Yes. So it's, I don't know if I can, you probably see it backwards, but that's the kind of the chart, what it looks like.
Okay, so it
So
gives.
split into A and B, and then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, down to 6. So it allows you to work through very quickly. So
Wow.
the 60 emotions there. And if I say, so there is an emotion here that we can release for you today. So if I ask the question, is it in column A? Yes. So I'm already down to 30. So then I'll ask, is it in an even row? What it is. So it's now I've split that again to 15. So it's either in 2, 4, 6. So is it in row 2? So it's in row 2. So now I'm down to 5 emotions.
Incredible.
So then I'll see. So is that emotion? Is it anxiety? No. Is it despair? No. Is it disgust? No. Is it nervousness? So there's nervousness. Okay. So then what I'll check and see is what age that nervous has occurred at. So if you're okay to share,
Pardon?
how old are you now?
I'm 56, nearly 57.
So
In a few weeks.
it just gives me the scope of where I'm going with the muscle testing. So at what age does this nervousness get trapped? Is it from before the age of 30? Yes. Is it before the age of 20? Yes. Is it before the age of 10? Yes. Is it before the age of 5? Yes. Okay. So is it before birth? No. Is it 1, 2? So it's 3 years old. There was an emotion of nervousness. Now, often we don't remember what was going on at 3 years old, but you could imagine a 3-year-old feeling nervous about something. It doesn't. The beauty of this is you don't need to know. So then I'll ask the question, is there anything else that we need to know about this? No. Okay. So can I release this emotion? That's a yes. So all I do when I'm working online is use a magnet, which I have here as well. So this is the magnet that I use. It's nothing special really. I just like it because it's easy to work with as well. And kids love it because it looks like a wand.
It does, yeah, yeah.
They're open to letting go of everything because it's magic. Just clears all their worries.
Yeah, that's lovely.
Yeah. So yeah, I like working with this, but it's just all I do then is, because I'm standing in as proxy for you, I'm going to clear that energy. So we brought that energy up to the surface, and then I just run the magnet a few times down the, like, it's so simple. Yeah, and that just releases that energy. And that's it.
Wow, that's
Simple.
incredible.
Yeah, yeah.
You literally, so what is the magnet doing?
Basically, I can actually do that without the magnet, because our hands are magnetic as well. But the magnet really just, all it does is magnify our intentions. So it's just about, our intention goes where energy flows. So it's just we're setting the intention to release that energy, and it releases. If
That is phenomenal.
I do it
Yeah.
on my, even use them, I'll just go like that and just release the energy like that.
And I haven't felt anything emotionally from that. I got a little bit of a shiver, sort of like a little chill or something. And who knows, maybe it will. But it's spot on what you said. What the tuning in is spot on. I mean, I know it goes back that far, and I know not that it matters anyways. But yeah, it's really it's just phenomenal to see what's possible there, and it doesn't have to be difficult. I think that's a really important thing for anyone listening or watching to understand if you are struggling with something. It's such a beautiful technique or modality, really.
And for some people, it's nearly confirmation of what they experienced, because a lot of people would have been gaslit through years. No, it wasn't the case. That didn't happen, or that wasn't the case, or you're wrong, or you're too sensitive, or all this stuff that you hear growing up. Sometimes it's validation for them, going, yeah, this is that. Those are the words, first of all, because sometimes we don't have words for these emotions, and a lot of people are like, yeah, that's exactly the feeling. That's the name of the emotion, and then it's validation for them, going, yes, I did feel that did have that effect on me. So it's nearly validating what they've been through.
Yeah. That seems to be a huge thing. I think there is a lot of, I know that word is used a lot, gaslighting, but when you take it down to its basic, it is sort of that sense of your feelings being, what's the word, being not
Nearly,
ignored, hmm?
yeah, disregarded nearly, or
Disregarded as if, yeah, and then you start to doubt yourself, and that leads to more stress. So everything that I'm hearing through speaking to you and other guests as well is that how important it is to be in touch with how we're feeling, because it is our guiding force and it never lies. Energy doesn't lie, doesn't it not? It's you know. So thank you, Jillian. I won't hold you any longer today. Thank you for being so generous with your time. But I thought it was really nice to do that little demonstration because it just gives people a sense of maybe, what's evolved and what's available to us now that maybe they have not heard about before. There is so much we can do for ourselves, and then there's so much available through people like you. So if anyone, Jillian, wants to reach out and maybe work with you online or in person, what is the best way? I'll put all the links in the show notes. How would you like them to
yeah,
contact you?
best place would probably be my website, so jillianskehan.ie, and you'll find me there. And I have a list of all the availability and the different things I offer. And I've even started doing now, because I'm really passionate about wanting people to empower themselves and to be able to do muscle testing for themselves. I've even starting to do some workshops that will teach people how to do that.
Yes, I
Yeah.
saw that and I noticed you're only doing them in Wicklow now, are you?
At the moment, yeah, it's all new to me, so it's only something I'm.
Okay.
So it's, yeah, because here in Hollywood in Wicklow, which is just a lovely area.
Sorry, I said Dublin. You're in Hollywood and Wicklow. Apologies. Yeah, I said that at the beginning. Yeah. So, okay. So, yeah, that's where you're based and that's what you'll be doing. Can you teach that online
I have,
eventually, or it's better in person?
yeah. The only reason it's what people have kind of seemed to be craving is something in person.
Yeah.
A lot of
Yeah.
people fed up online
I
stuff.
know we're doing so much online. It's lovely to meet
Like,
like-minded people who, yeah.
in a workshop, I get people to work with other people as well, so they get to know how to muscle test somebody else as well, which is a nice experience. So the moment I'm just going to do it, focus on in person. Yeah.
Okay. Well, we'll watch this space for it because I know I did it years ago with different training, but I could definitely do with tuning up. And I think it's, as you said, it's a fabulous tool to have for yourself. It's just so empowering, isn't it?
Even to know for your children as well, like, or yourself, you
Yeah.
know, what supplements. Like, I mean, because you walk into a health food shop and there's 100 different.
Yes. Yes. Yeah.
Oh, you need X, Y, and Z, but not everybody does. So and yet they're costly. So uh,
Yeah.
it's
So it's
good.
really tailoring it
Yeah,
to your body. That's the message, yeah, I'm getting as well. As you said, there's so much, and I found myself once or twice, but I stopped doing it, doing this weight test as like in a supermarket. Said people think I'm drunk or something. So, but you can do the finger.
you can do that one, or even more discreetly, one you can do with
Yes,
fingers like that. So you can just do that, and nobody really sees what you're doing.
yes, yeah. You don't look too. They won't lock you up.
I do that in the supermarket.
Yeah, or the pendulum as well is quite nice, isn't it?
Oh yeah, and I
I
love.
love. Yeah, yeah. So thank you. We'll leave it there. Thank you so much, Gillian. Thank you everyone for listening. I'm going to put all of Gillian's contact details, as I said, in the show notes. And do please reach out if you'd like to connect with her and find out more. So take care for now and until the next episode. Goodbye. Thank you.